and on the backing track goes. Ad infinitum, I could play over that track forever. Folks, how you doing? Nick Jennison, it's the Monday Guitar Show. Welcome aboard. We're doing the thing we do on Mondays, which is hang out and chat about the guitar. And today, specifically, we are addressing what's essentially a follow-on question from last week's stream, which is, what do you do? What do you do with yourself when your motivation to play the guitar is down? It is low, so to speak. Oh, just hit a switch to go to another camera there. I was trying to turn my my guitar into a clean sound so it doesn't go but yeah, wound up hitting another camera. We've got plenty of cameras here in case you couldn't tell. Yes, so this follows on from last week's stream where we discussed making practice a habit, and this is something that we'll touch back upon today, but this is more about what to do when you find yourself kind of at a little bit of a loss with your guitar playing. But before we go any further than that, we're going to say some quick hellos. We're going to welcome our new viewers on board because we've got some new friends in the chat. If you're brand new here, hi, welcome. We do this every Monday. We hang out, we chat about the guitar. It's a lot of fun. Our objective is, as it's becoming a bit of a catchphrase, to make you a slightly better guitar player when you leave the stream than when you arrived. And we've got a great community going on here, loads of players who are representing all sorts of different styles, all sorts of different backgrounds, different ability levels. We've got some absolute shred masters, and we've got some bare bones beginners, and there is nothing wrong with any of that. You are all welcome here. Now, in the intro, you hear me playing this guy. This is my #1 Paul Reed Smith guitar. I want to know what guitar you're playing today. Let us know in the comments. We'd love to hear from you. I've already seen some very, very sexy instruments, or at least the names of some very sexy instruments in there. This is my #1 as far as PRS goes. This is my Custom 22, which I've had for the longest out of any of my PRS guitars. It's got a set, I beg your pardon, of bare knuckle, well, sorry, not bare knuckle, Bulldog, my mistake, Bulldog, Black Label and Extremist pickups in it. Although part of me is debating, I've got a set of Polypaths kicking around up here. I'm debating putting those in, but these pickups absolutely rocking this guitar, so it's kind of, you know, it's one of those things. And of course, because we're talking about practice, we are playing the 80s training montage. That backing track is available on licklibrary.com because of course it is. Of course it is. Now, before we go too much further, I also want to tell you a little bit about today's featured course, which is Sam Bell's 30-minute practice routine sequences. Now, I'm going to take a quick second and show you this because this is part of a series of structured practice routines that we've been putting out at licklibrary.com. Of course, this stream is brought to you by Lick Library. Let me just take a second and share my screen with you if I can make this happen. There we go. You guys have seen this already, but this is Sam Bell's 30-minute practice routines musical sequences. It's available on the Lick Library website. Lick Library members, you'll get this included in your membership. But what it essentially boils down to is it's a 30-minute long guided practice session that kind of takes the anxiety out of practice. It takes the anxiety of deciding what to practice for sure, because Sam just tells you what to do. And sometimes that is exactly what you want. We're going to talk about that as a little bonus tip as we go further. But this particular one addresses musical sequences as a method for practicing. It's really, really good fun. And of course, we know that Sam Bell is an absolute master when it comes to this sort of stuff. Go check it out if you haven't done so already. It's available on licklibrary.com. Now, we're going to say some hellos and then we're going to get stuck into the meat of today's stream. We'll also address how this is going to differ from last week's stream on making practice a habit. We've got a great guitar just in the comments there. I'm going to talk about that in a second. But again, I want to know what guitars you guys are playing. If you haven't done so already, comment and let us know. We're going to say some hellos to our regular streamers first, though. Sacred God Slayer's in the house. First one through the door. Good to see you. Marcine is here, and I want to take this opportunity to ask our friend Marcine, how was your lesson with Bill from Mastodon? Right, because you were telling us all about this last week. Really excited to hear what it was like. Let us know in the comments. Of course, you can also shout about this in our fan and community organized Discord. So we've got a community Discord going on here. Links will be available in comments. If you guys got a link, post it in there. I'm sure that's probably the best way to find it. PJ is in the house. Great to see you. Need to get the video on the Discord of Marcin with his 8-string. I agree. I concur. PJ is on part of his luthier's journey this week, covering all neck-related stuff, including refretting, or hopefully not regretting. Looking forward to it. Man, you know, a refret, best thing I ever did to this guitar. It's got stainless steel frets in and huge ones, and I love them, love them, love them. Helmet Strap is here. Kate Strange is here playing a Jackson King V. Very cool choice. Like that. Larry Warren's in the house. Crank and Tom's tuning in from his road trip in South Holland. He's going to catch the stream on the replay. 3.5 years of this great input keeps me motivated forever. Has it been that long? It's been a long time we've been doing this stuff, but hey, I'm not looking back. I'm having a great time, right? We're going nowhere, right? This is a regular fixture now. This is just something I do every Monday, and I'm really glad you guys can keep joining us. Fall Cornish is in the house. Lovely to see you. Mike Seedorf's tuning in for another Monday of guitar knowledge to help us improve in our playing. That's our goal, my mate. Hopefully we've got something good for you today. Steve Luth is in the house playing a Dragon's Eye Burst Ibanez S into his Quad Cortex. Very cool little combination there. Dragon's Eye is, of course, one of the singles from the new Blitzkrieg album, which is this one. Oh, what's it called? What's it go like? Loads of fun, right? Loads of fun. So cool name. I'm a fan of that. I like that an awful lot. Franz is in the house. Great to see you playing his RG760 again. Love a bit of that. We got an RG670. My mistake. We've got an RG770 from our friend Citizen 741X. Ville's tuning in playing a hardtail Strat. We've got from Kathmandu 1962 and 1976 Gibson Les Paul Black Beauty. Not sure if it's a fretless wonder, but all the frets are very small, I'm guessing. Now, that would be like kryptonite to me, right? I love a big fret. I can't deal with teeny tiny frets. I'm sure I'd love that guitar. I'm sure I'd get such a kick out of being around it, but I don't think I'd be able to play anything constructive on it. So, hey man, if it's your sort of thing, they're fantastic instruments, right? A lot of mojo, a lot of vibe going on. Mark McNish, he's started Sam Bell's 30-minute practice routine. Motivation's a lot easier when you don't have to ask yourself what to do. Stream over. There you go, right? There you go, stream over. We love a bit of that. We've got another couple of great guitars in the house. Tone D. Farkas is tuning in with a lovely compliment. Thank you very much. Joe Nolan says he's new here for help. Joe, we've got you, right? We've got you, man. Don't you worry. Stick around. We got you. We got the very thing for you. Mike Seedorf's playing a 1989 Ibanez 777 Desert Yellow Gem. Fantastic. Super cool. We got a Les Paul traditional. What else do we have? A Highway 1. Is it a Strat? Is it a Tele? Let us know, right? We want to see. An HH Telecaster. Loads of cool guitars, right? We love a bit of this. This is one we like to see from our friend Tompa Newman. He's playing a Maybach Lester 59. Here's the Maybach Convair kicking around up here. I might get it down later. It's my favorite guitar. But we love a bit of Maybach love here, right? Super, super cool. I hope we haven't missed anybody. My friend Darren Wall is in the house. Darren, it's lovely to see you. A dear, dear friend from, we go way back. Block 18 is here. Mal Riley is here. Who else do we have? Just gonna make sure I haven't missed anyone. I think we've got everyone. We've got a silver Strat going on. We've got a blonde Strat going on. And then we've got a PRS Custom 24 20th anniversary. Lots of very cool guitars. We're going to get into the meat of today's lesson. Before we do, just want to remind you that this stream is brought to you by Lick Library and Guitar Interactive Magazine.coms, respectively. Go to licklibrary.com for lessons, including Sam Bell's 30-minute practice session, 30-minute practice workout routine, whatever you want to call it. Go to guitarinteractivemagazine.com for news, reviews, interviews, all that other good stuff. Don't forget to like and subscribe, whatever platform you happen to be watching this on. Share this with the guitar playing friends. We'd like to get this out to as many players as we possibly can. Okay. Ramble over. Let's get into the meat of the stream, which is what to do when your motivation is low. And as promised, we've got 3 things that we can do, 3 big tips that is hopefully going to help you should you find yourself in this situation. First thing I got to say though is for anybody who's been playing guitar a long time, the feeling of having low motivation in your playing is normal. This is something that everyone goes through, right? So I'm just going to come right out and say, if this is you, you're not wrong. You're not on your own. You're not unique in this. This is not something that you're suffering through just kind of all on your lonesome and going, oh God, everybody else is putting in the work and making great progress to the practice. And here's me, woe is me. Yeah, it feels terrible when your motivation is low. I won't lie, but you are not alone. This is something everybody goes through. Every guitar player goes through these periods where you just don't want to pick up the instrument, right? You just don't want to play. Now, I'm going to start with point 0. So this is not one of the 3 things. And this is something we addressed in our stream last week, right? And it's definitely something you should go and check out, which is to recognize that motivation is not sufficient to get you through your guitar playing journey. And rather than seeking motivation, to cultivate first discipline and then to cultivate habits, to make playing guitar a habit, a habitual thing that you do every day. Yes, that is all fine. That is all good stuff, right? That's something that you should definitely be looking to include in your guitar playing life. However, we also have to recognize that all habits start with motivation. All things begin with motivation. Motivation is not the thing that will carry you to the end of the race. It's a fleeting thing, but it's like a starter motor in a car, if you want to think about it that way. The starter motor is the thing that starts your car's engine going. And if your starter motor doesn't start, you know, the best engine in the world, it's going nowhere, right? You need a little starter motor. The starter motor on its own will not drive the engine. You cannot drive from John O'Groats to Land's End using just your starter motor. Not going to happen. You can't drive anywhere using just your starter motor, as far as I'm aware. But if you've ever had a starter motor fail, which happened in my car about a year ago, it just goes click and nothing happens. So we can think of motivation as being something like the starter motor to get the engine going. Once the engine's running and once you are in the habit of playing the guitar, it's quite easy to keep it rolling, right? Quite easy to keep things going. But that's not what we're talking about here. What we're talking about here is when you just can't stand the idea of playing the guitar. It's looking at you in the corner and going, I just don't like, I don't want to play this. I don't want to do this. I don't want to do this. So the first thing we're going to talk about, is, this is point number 1, identify the things that you are not enjoying doing and do something else, right? Identify the things that you are not enjoying and pursue something else. This is me giving you a license, if not a license, then an instruction that you don't have to practice and pursue all aspects of your guitar playing goals all the time. It's okay to take a breather from whatever it is you've been doing for an extended period of time. Let me use myself as an example here. So one of my most recent periods of just kind of fed up with the guitar came when I was really hot on practicing my technique. Practicing loads and loads and loads of technique all day long, right? All day long I was practicing my technique. And I felt like my playing was just kind of all shred all of the time. And it was getting pretty old, right? It was getting kind of dull. But I felt like, well, you know, I've cultivated this big technique thing. I kind of need to keep on top of this. It was only when I gave myself license to essentially abandon this, essentially shelf the shred technique side of things. And this is not the only thing we're going to talk about, but when I gave myself a license to abandon this side of things and pursue other aspects of my guitar playing, that I started to find that motivation coming back. Now, I'm in the habit of playing the guitar, so it's not a problem for me to just sit and pick up the guitar and practice, but it was definitely starting to get a bit old. So I was playing and I'm going, yeah, this is okay. I'm not really having fun, but I'm kind of punching the clock. I'm sure the fun will come back. It kind of didn't. I just get more and more bored. I was sat playing all this super crazy stuff. You can use D if you want to play along, by the way. Just turn the monitors down a little bit so we don't blast out the microphone. But I was sat playing all this kind of silly nonsense. And finding new and unusual ways to navigate the guitar's neck. I'll turn the monitors down too far, I can't really hear what I'm playing now. All that sort of stuff. It was really good fun. I liked playing that stuff, but it was really wearing thin. And where I'm going with this is I identified this as an aspect of my own guitar playing that I was basically sick of. Like, I'm just fed up with this. I'm fed up with this shred thing. I'm not going to never do it again. I'm not going to do it again, right? But I was just bored. I was bored of working on it. And I'm like, I feel like this is all I'm doing. This is the only thing I'm playing. I feel like my playing's becoming one-dimensional. My practice is definitely becoming one-dimensional. It's time to shake it up. So, great compliment from Nicholas Williams. Thank you so much, man. I appreciate that. That is very kind of you. So I'm still working on it. I'm working on it now. You know, I continue working on this stuff. But when I was last feeling down in the dumps about my playing, this is one of the things that I went, you know what? You just need to put that aside for a second. You need to shelf this. So I want you to take a second to think about this and think about the aspect of your playing that you're kind of sick of. Something that you just do all the time and you go, I always pick this up and play the same old thing. And then we're going to talk about some ways that you can practice and play the guitar without pursuing that thing. This is only one strategy. There are other strategies we're going to discuss too, but this is one of them, right? So we can go, right, okay, I'm kind of sick of myself doing all the shreddy business. Let's eliminate that. Let's eliminate that entirely. So what I did was, instead of pursuing that stuff, I set myself the goal of playing the guitar with a different tone, a different playing approach, and some constraints that removed this habit, this kind of like, well, I go on autopilot shred kind of deal. So I'd throw the same backing track on, but what I'd maybe do is I would limit myself in ways that stopped me from pursuing this same old thing that I do every time I pick the guitar up. That's not to say there's anything wrong with this. There's nothing wrong with playing the shred stuff. I enjoy it, but I was getting sick of it and it was hampering my motivation. So I went, hey, look, let's just take some time away from that. The way I got around this was I imposed a speed limit on myself. And the speed limit I imposed was eighth notes. And I said, I'm never going to play anything when I'm playing stuff like this that is faster than eighth notes. So at this kind of tempo, it's this. So an eighth note might be, that might be our eighth note pulse. I'm going to turn the monitors up a tiny bit, and I would play, and I'd practice and look for interesting things to play that were no faster than this. Cheated there, played ace triplets. I like that. Let's pursue that a bit further. Now, this is not the only limitations we can impose on our playing. That was a good timed ending there. Bidink. In case anybody's wondering, by the way, that little sample in that track is the sound of a weight stack, which I took inspiration from. If anybody here is a fan of classic era WWF wrestling, not the E, but the F, that's in Owen Hart's theme tune. And I was like, I want that in my training montage. I want the clink of the weight stack. So when I was putting that backing track together, I sampled that and threw it in. Not the one from Owen's theme, but the sound of a weight stack. Anyway, so 'cause why not? A lot of fun. Now, this is not to say that this is the way to bust a rut, is to impose a speed limit. This is to give you kind of an insight into how a limitation can get you away from the thing that is causing you to run out of steam with your playing, right? Now, this works well if you have a clearly identifiable thing that you're sick of. You go, I'm just playing this same funk rhythm all the time, etc., etc. Now, this is not the only thing that we can be frustrated with in our playing, right? It's absolutely not. And this is only one potential path to break out of this lack of motivation rut, but it's a valuable way. So again, this is taking ideas and imposing limitations. Let's look at some other potential ways we could be sick of our playing. We could be sick of our phrasing. For example, we could be saying, I play the same old phrases all of the time. Maybe you play the same old blues phrases, and every time you sit down to play, you play the same blues tracks, and you play the same old phrases over the same blues tracks. So maybe we're playing in, let's use a track in C minor. So blues in C minor. Quite a nice one. but even still, we might play the same old. Nothing wrong with that, right? That's a perfectly fine way to play, but maybe it's something where you go, geez, man, every time I pick the guitar, I just play the same old thing, which is really what we're getting at with this first tip. It's what to do if you're sick of playing the same old stuff. Well, the way you might get around this is, again, with limitations. Limitations. Identify what is at the core of the habit that you're playing. Maybe it's that you're always playing in blues box number 1, pentatonic box 1. Maybe you play that all the time. Maybe it's that you're always landing on root notes, for example. Maybe that's what you're doing, right? If you are doing the same old stuff, identify what that stuff is and set yourself limitations to get rid of the thing that you're doing all the time and practice within those limitations. That is tip number 1. Now, that is a very specific tip, which is specific to folks who kind of know what it is that they don't like about their own playing. They go, I'm just sick of the sound of my playing. I'm playing the same old stuff. The obvious thing for us to say at this point is, well, just don't play that. But I mean, it's an oversimplification, right? It's a bit like, if you heard that joke about going to the doctor and, a guy maybe goes to the doctor and he goes, doctor, it hurts when I bend over. And the doctor goes, well, don't bend over. Don't do that then. Seems stupid, right? Doctor, it hurts when I bend my knee. Well, don't bend your knee. And then you'll be fine. It's a joke because it is ludicrously oversimplified. However, we have strategies that we can put in place to deal with this stuff. And limitations is one of our most powerful strategies for this. There are other things we can do too. We can embark on, say, for example, Sam's practice routine. And that's another one. But I'm going to list me a little bit to point 2. So point 2, right? Tip number 2. That was tip number 1. Tip number 2 is and this is if you don't really know what it is about your playing, but you go, I'm just kind of sick of all of it. There's not really one thing that's the problem. I'm just sick of all of it. I'm sick of playing the guitar full stop. All of it. Just done. This is where tip number 2 comes in. And tip number 2 is to pursue a side quest. I'll say that again. Pursue a side quest or pursue side quests multiple, right? There's nothing saying you have to stick to one. Pursue as many side quests as you like, although in my experience, one is usually enough. What is an example of a side quest in the guitar? Well, it's something that is totally unrelated to the thing that you already play. So this, unlike point number 1, which is to lean into parts of your playing that are maybe underused, this is to pursue things that are completely foreign to you. And it usually, in my experience, takes the form of some style-related stuff. My most obvious one, and my personal favourite one, is, I said side quest, take a slide quest, right? I want to know from you in the comments, how many of you play slide guitar? Let me know if you do, right? How many of you play slide? If you don't play slide already, let me know, right? If you do play slide, if you're a proficient slide player, go for it. We got a one from PJ saying bass. Bass is also a really good one, a bass quest. It's really good. Go do bass quest. This is kind of what I'm talking about, is do something completely different where you've no expectations whatsoever on yourself for what it is that you're playing. It's totally new. It is bizarre and it's unusual. You may wind up with this thing from Mal Riley, for example, where he learns some but doesn't play it much. You don't actually have to use the stuff that you learn in the side quest. This is the beauty of it. The side quest is almost like a refresher. It's just a point in time where you ditch the stuff that you have been doing and start doing some other stuff just to refresh your interest, right? You don't actually need to use it. This is kind of a means to an end. But if you did want to pursue a slide quest, for example, this is my most recent side quest. It was a while ago, actually. It was probably about 7 years ago that I felt the need to do a proper side quest. Because, yeah, about 8 years ago, I think, when I first started dabbling with slide. I still only really dabble with slide. I'm not really a terribly proficient player. But I thought, well, you know what? I'll do a little bit of this. So what I did with this is I was really sick of my own playing, and I was just fed up of all of it. And I felt like every time I sat down to play the guitar, I just played the same old destructive stuff, right? And it was usually destructive. It was all completely over the top. And I was like, even if I try and not play in this fashion, if I try and play tastefully or whatever, I'd be like, as soon as I took my eye off it, the monster would come out, right? Out comes the shred beast, and then we're back to the same old stuff, right? Nothing wrong with this. I'm not saying like, oh my god, my playing sucks, or I'm trying to like down myself or any of that sort of stuff, or to say, well, if you play shred stuff, you're silly and that. Come on, right? That would be a ridiculous thing for me to say. But I was pretty tired of it. I was pretty tired of every aspect of my guitar playing. And every time I tried to conjure something new creatively, I would just come against the same old stuff. So I went, you know what? Let's do something completely different. And what I did was I grabbed my slide and I started playing some stuff that was essentially the same stuff that I already play. Essentially the same stuff that I already play, but this new implement became a part of the quest. Now, I have this slide today. This is my rock slide ball tip slide, which is not my personal favorite slide, right? I'm used to using a glass slide these days, and this one's a bit heavy for what I'm playing right now. But this is the first one I bought, and I bought it because it looks cool, right? That's the long and short of it. It looks pretty cool. Ariel Posen uses one. I'm like, yeah, man, I'm going to play that. So what I would do is I would throw on a track. It might be a blues, but it was usually not. It was usually just something kind of, I guess, sort of droney. Maybe I'd do something like the Led Zeppelin backing track that we've got here, which is in the key of E, and I'd play something akin to this. And I'd be looking at things that I could play with this new and unusual implements. And I would end up coming up with these lines. That I really quite liked. I'm like, oh, this is cool, man. I eventually started using it live. Started playing a bunch of slide at gigs. For example, just recently on Saturday, I did a DEP gig. I've got very itchy nose for some reason. I did a DEP gig for our friends. That's a sub gig. So, you know, filling in for another musician. I was filling in for my dear friend Mickey Crystal, fabulous guitar player. Filling in for him. With a band playing mostly heavy metal tunes, and there were 3 songs off the hop. Sounds like a strange thing to say, but the 3 songs off the hop that were, if not entirely slide, then benefiting from slide repertoire. And these songs were No More Tears by Ozzy Osbourne, of course, late Ozzy Osbourne, R.I.P. Black Sabbath by Black Sabbath. We were doing a bit of an Ozzy little tribute at the start of the set, in case you couldn't tell. So we played Mr. Crowley, then we played No More Tears, which has a big slide part. Black Sabbath, I really enjoyed playing with a slide, because it's quite a simple riff, and I could do all these kind of really chaotic things, where I would do these kind of big... But I could also take the slide off in the quiet parts and do some creepy noises. all that kind of business. Lots of fun. And then the one that followed on from that, Stormbringer by Mark IV Deep Purple. Mark IV, Mark III? Mark III Deep Purple, because it was still Blackmore in the band at that point. Stormbringer, which has a slide solo. It was during Richie Blackmore's slide arc, where he was playing a whole load of slide. This was one of those songs. It sounds absolutely tremendous, and I'm like, hey, you know what? I'm going to play slide on this as well. Wound up taking 3 songs back to back with predominantly a slide on my finger. Would never have done that if I hadn't have pursued the slide side quest. But here's the other thing, right? Here's the other thing. It's not just about the skills that you pick up along the way. It's just about the fun detour that you take, taking a side quest, right? Let me give you another example of this. So for those of you who don't know, I think the majority of people who watch here know, myself, I mean, it's as if it wasn't evident by the fact that I've got a t-shirt with what appears to be the Grim Reaper with a barbell on its back. Presumably doing a barbell squat, although it might be a behind the neck press or jerk, who knows. This is a t-shirt by our friends at Barbell Medicine. I'm going to hide this, I'll show you. And it has my favorite logo, which is, or favorite saying, which is, what are you going to do? Not train? So this is all to do with like, a lot of their stuff on injury and rehab, and it's like it's a saying, and it's a really fun saying. It's, what are you going to do? Not train? And it's meant somewhat sarcastically, but it's become kind of I guess a buzz phrase or a catchphrase, and I really like it. But the reason I'm bringing this up is I compete in the sport of powerlifting as a masters lifter. I am not a great lifter by any stretch of the imagination. I do okay. I have a certificate over my shoulder for a regional deadlift record in the IPF, which is the big powerlifting federation, the one that's potentially going to end up in the Olympics, but it's at the local level. So it's Yorkshire and North East. In my personal category, which is masters over 40, that is under 120 kilos body weight. So that's me. I've got the deadlift record for that particular class. Got a couple of medals over here, going to pick up some more soon, you know, took a few podiums, won the occasional local meet. It's good fun, right? But with powerlifting comes an interesting training arc. If you're wondering why I'm talking about powerlifting, this is, first of all, if I'm left unsupervised, I'll talk about powerlifting, but also if this is pertinent to guitar playing. There's an analogy going on here. With powerlifting, we have an interesting training arc where we have a specific day where we have to perform at our best. And normally we stack blocks of training in the run-up to one specific performance. And the specific performance is usually the meet, which is our way of saying competition. It's just an oldie worldy, an old school way of saying comp, right? Some people call it a comp. We call it a meet, or I call it a meet because I'm old and I like strength history. So we stack maybe 12 weeks, 16 weeks of training up to this one competition date. And the training starts quite general, and then it becomes more and more specific to the competition as we go on. So we start with a very general block where we'll be doing all sorts of weird and wonderful stuff, and it'll be great. And then we'll start to drill down, we'll start to use lower reps and heavier weights, and we'll do more of the 3 competition lifts, which are bench press, back squat, and deadlift. And then towards competition time, we'll be doing basically only those 3 lifts and only low repetition, heavy efforts. This in itself leads to a performance point where, and you find this with loads of powerlifters, by the time you actually get on the platform and you're at the meet, you're so sick of powerlifting and you want to do anything but powerlifting, literally anything but. So after every competition, I usually go on a 4-week side quest. And my side quest can be basically anything. It could be, I've done cardio side quests before, where I've gone, let's go and do, I've done weight loss side quests before, I've chosen different lifts, I've done little bodybuilding side quests. These haven't really benefited me as a powerlifter in the long run, but what they have provided me with is a break, which has given me more motivation to come back to my lifting with greater drive and greater aplomb. And this is also true for your guitar playing. So let's talk about some of the side quests that you could potentially pursue. Here are some side quests, right? If you have not done so already, as our friend, let's see who said this. Lovely compliment in the slide playing, by the way. Thank you very much, man. I appreciate that. And that's with a slide that I don't like as well. I do quite like it, but even still. Yeah, PJ was saying bass. Bass is a really great example of a side quest. It's something, if you don't play bass already, there is much to be had from spending a bit of time playing bass. I think every guitar player should own a bass. Personally, at least one. I only have two. I have an extensive guitar collection, but I have two basses up here. You can see them lurking in this direction, right? I have it looks like a P bass. It's a Jaguar bass, but it's basically a P bass in disguise. And then I have this cheap Squier 5-string P bass because I needed a P bass and I also needed a 5. That was basically it. So I've got a 4-string, I've got a 5-string. I'll play them occasionally. But I did go through periods of time where I was taking bass gigs, not because I'm a very good bass player, but because, you know, I enjoyed it. I was having fun. It was something different. Did I become a much better guitar player by playing the bass? Not really. But when I came back to playing the guitar, I was so ready for it. I was resensitized to practice, resensitized in terms of my motivation. I was ready to go again. So bass quest is important. Other quests, acoustic quest, right? We've done slide quest, we've done bass quest, acoustic quest. How much time have you spent with your acoustic guitar, right? Have you spent a great deal of time with your acoustic guitar recently? I don't. I spend very little time with my acoustic guitars, and I should spend more. So acoustic quest would be a good choice for me next time I'm feeling down in a rut. I've done the slide quest, but I'm going to tell you about my current side quest. My current side quest, I'm not down in the dumps particularly, but I wanted a side quest anyway. My current side quest is downpicking quest. Right, so I'm on downpicking quest right now because I'm playing a heavy metal band. I'm going on tour. We're going to be touring in September. We're going to be touring all around Germany, Belgium, Holland, and much to my shame, despite being in a heavy metal band, I kind of suck at downpicking. So I started a downpicking quest, and I started looking at the techniques of really great downpickers. And of course, the king of downpicking is James Hetfield. And what does James Hetfield do that I don't do? When we're downpicking, I just can't keep it up. Watch this. James Hetfield plays with the trailing edge of the plectrum. Ha ha, right? Interesting. The trailing edge of the plectrum being this. This is the leading edge of the plectrum. This is Troy Grady language. Leading edge of the plectrum. Guys, I bought purple picks so that you could see them on screen. And what am I doing? I'm playing a red guitar. One time when the black pick is going to be visible, I'm playing the red guitar. Of course I am. What a fool. But never mind, right? So this is the leading edge of the pick, right? Which is the side towards the headstock. The trailing edge of the pick is the side of the pick that is towards the bridge. And James plays with the trailing edge being the first thing that impacts the string. As does Rabia Massad, another great downpicker who I've got a lot of time for. Love Rabia's playing. So I'm currently on downpicking quest, but I'm on downpicking quest using trailing edge picking. Now this is a lot of fun because it means when I'm in rehearsal and I'm a little bit tired of the songs that we're rehearsing, the ones that I know particularly well, say for example the first song in the set. Say that. As I butcher the riff, I can play this with trailing edge picking as an exercise. And all of a sudden, I'm interested in pursuing this. It looks a bit like Randy Rhoads' hand when I do it like that, which is kind of fun, but it's not the reason I do it. The reason I do it is I play everything else with leading edge. So everything else I play like this. Trailing edge. Has become my metal technique. And now I want to pursue my metal playing. I'm like, ooh, that's interesting. That's really good fun. So I am on trailing edge quest, which is a very specific side quest, but acoustic, bass, slide, these are all great examples of side quests. I'm going to see if we've got any comments coming in on this one. A good side quest would be to use a looper. Here's a good one. A looper or recorder to make up some rhythm loop, and then record over some lead and some melody. This is very cool, right? This is what you might call songwriting quest. or composing quest. We're giving them all quest names because quest is fun, right? Steve Bluth has classical quest. Very cool, right? Very cool. Songwriting quest's a really great choice, right? Committing to composing some things. Maybe you record them, maybe you release them. Maybe that becomes a little side quest for you, right? Side quests are really good fun. Another great example that you can go to licklibrary.com and pursue to your heart's content, and by heart's content I mean to your absolute fill, is you can pursue repertoire quest. Now, how many guitar players, right? I'm telling you, how many guitar players don't know enough songs? That is me, right? I don't know enough songs. What if you decided you were going to learn an album back to back, start to finish? Well, you can go to licklibrary.com, you can learn any of these classic albums, right? Pick one, right? The world is your oyster with this. You want to learn Black Sabbath by Black Sabbath, the eponymous first album. Go learn it. Go to licklibrary.com. We've got the whole thing taught to you by Danny Gill. It's really freaking cool, right? Look at that. It's animations and everything. We love a bit of that. Repertoire quest is important, right? Because if you're stuck for what to play, learn some stuff. Learn that song. Learn that album that you've always wanted to play. Go get it. Repertoire quest, a very important and very valuable side quest. So far, we've done two things, right? We've done two things, which is we've identified the aspect of our playing that we're not feeling, and we've set up limitations. We've set up limitations to chase some of the goals, right? Or rather to force us not to do the thing that's kind of bugging us. That's valuable. That is valuable if you have something specific where you go, I'm just sick of doing this. I'm sick of pursuing this thing. I think we had a great one up here from Raphael/Halfael saying, whose name I will get to the pronunciation one day, I'm sure. I'm just going to say both as a hedge. He says he doesn't want to do chromatic exercises ever again, right? For sure, right? Maybe you're sick to death of that. You eliminate something from your playing and just carry on, right? You go, you know what? I'm never doing that again. Just take that out, take that away. Have a little bit of a break from that. You'll be hungry to come back to it eventually, I'm sure, right? I'm sure. That was point number one. If, however, you're just sick of everything that you do, find a side quest. Play some acoustic. Play some slide. Get into the metal thing, right? Learn some covers. Go and maybe learn to sing. Singing is another fun one, right? Like singing, bass, take up drums, record your guitar, learn about production. There is so much stuff. You will never run out of things to learn as a guitar player. It's one of the beautiful things about it. But this leads me to point number three. And this is what happens when, and this is something folks will say, when, first of all, you have no clue what it is that you're sick of in your playing. And when it comes to choosing a side quest, everyone went, well, cool, yeah, just choose a side quest. What do you feel like doing? And the answer is, don't know. Got something for you, right? Got something for you. When it's time for a change, your motivation is low, and you just need to do something. You recognize that you need to do something. You don't even know what it is you feel like doing. You go, I just don't feel like doing any of this stuff. In this sort of instance, I will encourage you to embrace routine. Embrace routine and ride this thing out. And this is where something like our featured course for the day, which is from my friend Sam Bell. It is the 30-minute structured practice. I'm going to give you a guide for this too. 30-minute structured practice. Oh look, we've got a live notification. That's us. Hooray! There you go. We should probably take that off on the course we're going to talk about the stream on. I'll talk about on the stream. But yeah, you can embrace this, right? You can go and go, you know what, Sam, just tell me what to play, man. Tell me what to play. And then you're all right. You got it. Sam's got you. We got loads of these. We're not going to harp on that too much, but you can go check that out. However, I'm going to give you an example of what you might do for routine right now, because I want you to have something that you can do with this, right? Here's one from Citizen who says, sometimes it's that I feel stuck and I don't know what to look at next. We're going to get to you on this, man. I'm going to give you a thing, right? I'll give you a thing. But first of all, got to highlight this. This is my friend Marcin, who says a new guitar is always a good solution for low motivation. For sure, right? Absolutely for sure, right? I resisted the urge to have you throw money at the problem. But yeah, let's be honest, buying the new instrument, that's a cool way to get some motivation going. Remember, however, for you folks who are buying new guitars in an attempt to kickstart your guitar playing, that motivation is simply the starter motor. And it is discipline and then habit that are the engine. Motivation starts the engine. It doesn't drive the car, right? Motivation will fail you. It fails you in every endeavor. It will fail you sooner rather than later, but it's the thing that gets you going. So yeah, buy a new guitar, buy a new pedal, some new software, grab a new plugin if it's on sale, if that's your thing, whatever works for you. Buy a new thing, try some new strings, try crazy new tuning. Yeah, nothing wrong with that. I don't think there's anything wrong with that, but that wasn't going to say, hey, just buy a new guitar, right? Buy a new guitar. But here's a great one from our friend Chris Brown. Go and see a great guitarist. Yeah, go and watch a great guitarist, or even just watch some videos of a great guitarist, especially if it's a player that maybe you haven't watched for a while, right? Maybe it's been a minute since you've watched Jeff Beck, or maybe it's been a minute since you've watched Tommy Emmanuel, or maybe it's been a while since you watched any David Gilmour, or Hendrix, or Malmsteen, or Nuno, or Zakk Wylde, or Jakey Lee, or whoever, you name it, Robin Ford. Right? Pick a cool player, right? Go ask your friends, right? Ask your guitar playing friends, who are you into right now? And they may come up with some cool answers. Maybe someone will go, you know what, I'm on a really big Stevie kick right now. Really big Stevie kick. Embrace it. Go watch some Stevie. It'll sharp get the motivation into you, I'm sure. But it's a very good answer. Very good answer. And of course, go and see a great guitar player, even more so. But we're not going to work on any assumptions that you have access to going and seeing these guys, or that you have guitar playing friends, maybe the only guitar player you know. If you are the only guitar player that you know, you're not anymore, because we've got a whole community of them. Come see us every week. We've got loads of guitar players down here in the chat talking all sorts of good guitar-y stuff. Anyway, embracing structure and embracing order in your playing and routine. This is a little bit of the what are you going to do, not train thing. So it's not necessarily a very sexy answer, but we've already exhausted all these possibilities. What are you going to do? Not train? Which is like saying, well, I don't really feel like playing my guitar. And we go, well, what are you going to do? Not play? I mean, it seems like kind of such an obvious thing to say. Well, what are you going to do? Just like not play the guitar anymore? And you go, well, no, I still want to play the guitar. Well, cool, play something then. If you don't know what to play, or you don't feel motivated to play anything, play something. Anything will do. And the best way to get around this is to have that responsibility of deciding taken away from you. And I am going to give you the secret to this. I'm going to give you the keys to the castle, so to speak. First of all, I'll give you the same analogy for exercise. And this is my keys to the castle for anybody that wants to get into training and wants to get into the gym, right? I'm a bit of a gym evangelist, in case you couldn't tell. I think it's good fun. I like it. Here is the gym evangelist. Step number one, right? Here's what you do. Step number one is you just go. And what do you do when you're there? Here's what you do. You pick one thing for each of these three categories. One thing for each of these three categories, right? The first thing is something that you push with your arms. You push something away from you. Is it a dumbbell? Is it a barbell? Is it in this direction or this direction or this direction? Is it a machine? Is it your own body weight? Doesn't matter. You do that. You find something you push away from yourself. Choose something where you use your arms to pull something towards yourself. Is it a dumbbell? Is it a barbell? Is it a machine? Is it your own body weight? Doesn't matter, right? Pull something. You push something, you pull something. Find something where you can push on something with your feet. Either maybe it's a squat, maybe it's a deadlift, maybe it's your own body weight, maybe it's a leg press machine, I don't mind. You do those three things, right? How much? You do it until it's hard, and you do that 3 times. And by hard, you go, that was hard. Do it 3 times for each. Then you choose one thing that you can do for a long time. Choose maybe, I don't know, like you choose walking on a treadmill or riding a bike or something like that. You can do it for a long time. You do that for 20 minutes. 3 lots of this, 3 lots of this, 3 lots of this, 20, 30 minutes, you are done. How often you do it? Once a week, twice a week, up to you. That is the key to the castle for getting into the gym. right? We got some squat goals. I'm chasing an impossible squat too, man, right? Small achievements keep you going. I want to know, what's your number, right? Let me know, what's your number? I'm currently chasing myself, hoping in about a 10 days time, we're going to put up 240 kilos. And that's the impossible squat right now. Yours may be significantly larger. I'm definitely more of a deadlift guy than a squat guy, but we're not here to talk about the gym. But the analogy stands, right? When you're playing the guitar and you don't know what to work on, do these 3 things that we're going to elaborate on in a future stream. Here's what you do. You choose something that will challenge your physical technique on the guitar. You choose something that will challenge you from the perspective of your knowledge on the instrument, and you choose something that will challenge your repertoire or your vocabulary. Credit to Nick Harrison for this. Stole this from him, right? The 3 pillars of playing the guitar are technique, knowledge, vocabulary. And vocabulary includes repertoire. What do we mean by this? What might it look like in an ordered practice session? You choose one exercise. Does it matter what exercise is? Who knows? Who cares? Right? Who cares? It might be this, right? The chromatic exercise that we never want to play again. If that's too easy, change it. You might try something like this. Ooh, that's tough. That works. That's easier. What if I do this? The actual exercise is immaterial, but this is something where I go, you know what? That'll do. Is it the best exercise? Who cares? Right? Who cares? We'll find the best exercise later. Right? I'm doing something. The exercise in question is this. I'm playing the good old-fashioned spider exercise, but every time I play it, I'm moving one of my fingers to the next string. First time around, I move the pinky finger. The second time around, I move the third finger. Do that for a while. Second thing we do is we do something that challenges our knowledge of the instrument. Fretboard visualization, play some scales, try targeting certain notes, find some intervals, learn some arpeggios, play over changes, anything that challenges your ability to visualize the guitar's neck. Does it have to be hard? No. Does it have to be the right exercise, the perfect exercise? No. If it challenges your visualization, you're good. Something to challenge your technique, something to challenge your visualization. The last one is something to challenge your vocabulary. What that might be, who can say? Learn some songs. Look for new licks. Improvise and look for new licks. Learn some of your favorite solos, right? Does that make sense? These are the 3 things that you do every time you practice, and we are going to elaborate on these in a future stream. Of course, if you want this in an easily digestible format, you can. Or of course, go check out Sam Bell's 30-minute practice routine, which is our featured course for the month. It is unfortunately not free because we can't keep giving you free courses, otherwise we'll be out of business. You know, we've got to keep the lights on here. But, and I've got lots of lights, as I'm sure you can tell. But anyway, this is a great example of a course that just tells you what to do, right? Just take this, do that. Does it have to be perfect? No. Does it have to be the best thing you've ever played? No. Do you have to progress week on week? No. You just got to pick something and do something, and that's a really good way to square this circle. We're going to elaborate on this in a future stream, but for the time being, that's been how to reignite your motivation on the guitar, right? These 3 things, these are my 3 tips. Tip 0, in case you remember, the free tip is what we talked about last week, which is to pursue habit via the order of discipline. So motivation starts the car, right? Discipline is the car running, yes, that's fine, but ultimately for it to keep running, it's got to be habit, right? The guitar has to be something that you just do, right? It's habitual, like putting on pants or brushing your teeth or eating breakfast, right? Just things that you do. You do them, hopefully you do these things. Hopefully you put pants on, unless you prefer to wear a skirt. That's up to you, right? But hopefully you're not going out there with everything just kind of flapping in the breeze. We don't want that. In the privacy of your own home, do whatever you like. How do we get into this? Who knows? Anyway, habit. I should have just stuck with brushing your teeth, really. But even still, we went with pants. Why did we go with pants? We went with pants. Anyway, Pursue habit. Pursue habit as our ultimate thing that keeps us going rather than motivation. Do not rely on motivation. That's tip 0, because motivation is the thing that gets us into discipline and then ultimately habit. Now, tip 1 was to identify the thing that's bugging you about your guitar playing and take a sabbatical from it. Just eliminate that, and eliminate that through the medium of limitations. Tip number 2 was to pursue side quests. The side quests included slide quest. It included metal quest. I love slide quest. Bass quest, acoustic quest, classical quest, song quest, songwriting quest, you name it. Find a side quest and pursue it. That's if you don't know what it is that's bugging you, you just feel like you need a change. That's a great way to do it. Doesn't even have to carry over. You don't even have to become good at the thing. You just have to spend some time doing it. It's a little guitar holiday. In tip number 3, if you can't think of a side quest, you can't think of anything you'd like to do, you go, I just don't really want to do anything, embrace structure and go, what do I need to do? What are the things that I can do that will just get me some kind of result and just keep me ticking over until the fire comes back, right? Well, you do something like Sam's structured practice routine. You do something like structuring your practice routine like I'm talking about here. So that's kind of the 3 tips, I think. So folks, we're going to answer some questions. We got questions. I'm going to run as long as I possibly can on this one, right, until they kick me off, because we are getting close to the hour, but I want to answer some questions. I've talked a lot today, so I want to answer some questions. Let's see, Marcin with a really nice one, man. I appreciate that. Thank you very much. My friend James, who's maxing out this week, is going to put up some big numbers. Big, strong boy, says he feels inspired with me on this one. Thank you so much, man. I appreciate that. This actually kind of came from a conversation with James, where he was saying, yeah, this is all fair and well, you telling us what to play and all that stuff, but like, how do I make this part of my life? And I'm like, man, that's a good subject. That's a really good topic. And we were in the gym at the time, so I was like, well, I think there's some analogies to training here. And I went away and thought about it, and that's kind of what we came up with. Here's a cool one from Sam Junior Music saying, can you elaborate on if it's possible to over practice for too long, like hours, or will you fatigue? So yeah, okay, here's the thing. We've got a great question from Sacred Godslayer that I'm going to address next, by the way. Yes, it is absolutely possible to practice for too long. Generally speaking, based upon the conversations I've had with very, very, very knowledgeable and very skilled guitar players, and also with my own cursory reading, such as it is, of the literature on the subject. I'm not an expert on this, I'm not a scientist or a researcher on this stuff, but I'm interested in this sort of business. I would suggest that practice usually ceases for most folks at about an hour, and by that point we're just kind of playing, we're just doing stuff. I would suggest probably an hour is enough, and any more than that you go, well, you can keep playing if you like, but I don't think you're making any new progress here. I think an hour is usually it. If you want to practice multiple hours in a day, schedule multiple hour tops practice sessions, which leads me to Sacred Godslayer's question, where he says, would you suggest you spread the 3 pillars on a different session of the day if possible, or in a single practice session? I actually think it's a preference thing. It's a preference thing, and it depends how much that you want to put in. What you can do is you can take these 3 pillars, if you wanted to, and condense them into a single exercise, right? And just do that. There are some exercises that will challenge you to do all 3s, I think. Right, I think. You can definitely come up with them, right? They'll challenge your aural acuity and things like that as well, but they'll challenge your knowledge, they'll challenge your vocabulary, they'll challenge your technique. These exercises are few and far between, but if you really need bang for buck, that might be the deal. An example of this might be if somebody said to me, Nick, I've got time for 1 exercise in the gym. 1 exercise? 1 exercise? Yeah, I've got 1 exercise. What am I going to do? Like, okay. You were going to get a barbell, and you're going to do a barbell, clean, and press. What is barbell, clean, and press? Well, you start from the floor, you explosively lift it to your shoulders and squat down, and then you stand up with it, and then you press it over your head, right? That is going to train basically every muscle in the human body. Is it going to train every muscle in the most optimal fashion? No. But if you've got 1 exercise to do, that's what you're doing, right? That is you. It's a barbell, clean, and press. And if you've got time, maybe go for a run, or go for a bike, or something like that. That's you done. If you only have time and motivation for 1 guitar exercise, find one that will challenge them all. However, if you have time for a single practice session, a single practice session. If that's what you got, if you got one practice session in you, you should do all three. You should do something to challenge all three of these pillars, in my opinion. However, if you have the luxury of multiple practice sessions, you can absolutely spread these out, and it's entirely your preference. And what you can start to do is you can start to look at the aspects of your playing that need the most work. So for example, if your technique is excellent but your repertoire is pretty poor, you can spend more time on repertoire and vocabulary and even dedicate a single session to just that if you wanted to. Or you could take a more even approach and do maybe technique and a little bit of visualization in the morning, and then visualization or knowledge and repertoire in the evening, or vice versa. Personally, I like to do technique first if I'm doing anything in a practice session, because doing some technique work prepares me physically to do the other stuff. So when my technique is hot after a technique practice, it's much easier for me to pursue some vocabulary. So I like to do it in that order, but again, it's preference. That'd be the way I would do it. Another way to look at this would be to look at total weekly practice and to go, how much practice am I putting in on these various subjects in a week? And you could periodize your practice like that, periodization being a fancy term for the organization of training, but we can also use it for practice. So you organize your practice, so you go, I'm making sure I'm hitting at least these big rocks, maybe 2-3 times a week. So you could do that if that works for you, but I think it depends upon how much practice resources you have, I think. Here's a cool one from Sam Junior Music saying that when someone asks you to play guitar, do you have a go-to song that I play? I don't think I have a go-to song particularly. If somebody asked me to play something cool that they recognize, I'd probably play Eruption, because that's kind of a little party piece. In fact, somebody shouted for Van Halen at a gig the other day, played Eruption, and they all went, oh my god, fantastic. Little did they know I've practiced Eruption for about nearly 30 years. So it's like, yeah, cool. I definitely haven't practiced this until my fingers came off. And it's definitely not just muscle memory at this point. But not really, truthfully, although I definitely have a handful of break glass for cool licks. And one of them you see me play almost all of the time, which is this kind of up the E string kind of business. And I also have this kind of E-Dorian thing that I often noodle around with. Loads of stuff, right? I have a few standout licks. That I play every time I play the guitar. We all have them. They're little ticks, they're little tells. We've all got them in our vocabulary. Folks, I'm gonna have to bid you adieu, right? I got things I gotta go and attend to, but it's been a lot of fun hanging out talking to you about this. Hopefully you found some things in this stream that will help you get back on the guitar playing train. If you want to know about cultivating discipline and habit in your playing, which is super important, that's the next step from motivation, go and look at last week's stream. It's available on YouTube. James says, just play Eruption. Maybe for you later. I'll play it for you another time. Although, we did play it on stream one time, and apparently I played it quite well because we got a copyright strike, which was wild. I'm like, that is fantastic. So I'm a bit wary about playing it again in case we get another copyright strike. I could always just play it poorly, and then hopefully it wouldn't happen. But folks, I'm going to bid you adieu. I'm going to play out on this. This is one of our backing tracks in C sharp minor. I'm going to see you guys next week for another stream on practice where we're going to be elaborating things that you can do in your practice sessions. But for now, I'm going to say ta-da. My name's Nick Jennison. Subscribe on the way out the door if you haven't done so already. We love hanging out with you guys every week. Come see us again next week where we'll aim to make you a slightly better guitar player when you leave than you were when you arrived. Don't forget to go to guitarinteractivemagazine.com for news, reviews, interviews, all that good stuff. licklibrary.com for lessons, etc., etc., etc. I'll see you guys next week.